Mark Santiago here, and welcome to the Empowered AF podcast, where each episode we share powerful strategies to help you communicate, act, and lead like an empowered man. Thanks for joining me. All right. Welcome to Empowered AF. I have got a special guest with me. I've been doing a lot of guests lately, and probably because I like talking to other people. As much as I like talking to you fine folk who are listening in your car, listening at your job or whatever, I love to talk, but I also like to talk to other people, and I love to hear stories. And today I've got a special guest with me that I've known for several years and who has actually seen me in different facets of life, saw me pre-divorce, saw me kind of in the midst of divorce, saw me after divorce. And so he has a kind of unique perspective because he himself has also been divorced and is remarried. And I felt like his story, his perspective would be absolutely amazing for Empowered AF. So Seth Ellsworth, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Good to see you again, Mark.
You too, sir. So what I want to do is talk first before we get into your story and what you've been through, because there's a lot of guys who are experiencing what you've experienced, but you're on the other side of it. And before we get into that story, help me understand for them, or help guys understand what it is you actually do now in terms of your job, your business, so they can understand just from a high level where you're coming from.
Well, here's a concept that I've tried to live by. I see myself as a winner. So when a situation presents itself that looks like a loss, I have to find the win. So I calibrate everything in my life towards this. But here's the difference. I take notes the entire time. Because if stuff helps me, it's going to help other people. And I see myself as the most difficult client I've ever had. Like if something works for me, it has to be useful for other humans. And I reached a point in my career where I was doing a bunch of other marketing stuff, building other businesses. And I just had one of those moments where I was like, stop. You are gifted with these understandings. The good people need it. And so I literally burned all my ships and started sharing this message 8 years ago. So been through a lot since then, including divorce, which we'll talk about in a second, because despite knowing cool things, you still have life and you still have humanity, and it punches you in the face. But it's what we choose to respond with that makes the difference. So all I do is I'm Seth. I want to be the best Seth I can be. And I want to inspire and share with others ways that they can be their best self. Sounds super basic, but that's me, man. You can't put a label on me. I am
That
Seth.
is true.
I know who I am, and you will feel that.
Yeah.
That's my currency. So my promise to you on this podcast is you're probably going to wonder, like, who is that guy and what is he on? Because I want some of that. And that's my intention is live the message that I know the best that I can for myself. And it will allow others to do the same as long as I have the courage to open my mouth about it. And that's why we're on this podcast.
Yeah. One of my favorite things you say is, if you come into my world, you're going to leave changed.
100%. Stand by that.
Yeah. And that challenged me. I heard that obviously when you were coaching me in a totally different business situation. And I took that and was like, that needs to be the way I own Empowered Man, where if a guy comes into our program, they shan't not leave without feeling different, without changing in some compassion or some passionate
100%.
way. Because if they don't change, what have we done? And I know that the way you run your business with your clients is exactly the same way. So thank you for that totally different intro than probably what 99% of people would ever give. You didn't sugarcoat it and say, oh, I help men do this XYZ. Obviously, we're going to talk about what you do later, and we'll share some links of how you can get in touch with Seth. But listen to this story as we get into the things that he's been through, because you're going to take notes. But because he's going to drop some dimes on you. Just in the 5 minutes before we were getting ready to record, he was dropping dimes, and I'm like, okay, that's some good stuff there.
I can't help it, dude. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry at all.
Yeah, don't be sorry.
That's what I do.
Tell me about your current marriage. You have a very unique situation in my perspective. We've worked with hundreds and hundreds of guys who are going through divorce, facing divorce, and most of them don't end up the way you do. And meaning how they went through it and all that. So I want to kind of break down your situation. So tell me about your current marriage, current situation, and some things about it that are different than probably you've ever heard anywhere.
This is where it gets fun. You realize quickly, I'm weird. Like, I'm weird. I don't do life in a common way. I don't want to be common.
Yeah.
I want to be absolutely uncommon. And so how I calibrate my life is super different. But one thing's true, I can't be my best self unless I have somebody next to me who is searching for and working on becoming their best self.
Yeah.
And so it's important to sync up with somebody in that way. And my wife, Michelle, she is absolute gift to me. I admire her in so many ways. She's it's hard to sum her up. She's writing a book right now. She's 600 pages in. Like, the woman has been through just about almost every devastation you could go through as a female. She lost her firstborn son to a tragic accident. She's been abused in about all the ways that you can imagine. And she's amazing. So thing number one, when you find your person and you both sync up in terms of your direction that you want to go in life, that's the ideal scenario. And Michelle is that for me. Like, we sync up physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all the ways that matter. However, she's enough different to cause me to grow. Because she's different in enough ways that are so hard for me that I freaking love it. I don't want an easy marriage. I want a marriage that causes me to grow. Whether I have to catch up to her or whether she beats out of me, literally. Sometimes that's what it takes, because I'm super hard-headed and arrogant at times. It's like we all are, probably. But I love the fact that she's different enough to me that she fills my holes.
Yeah.
And together we are whole, because she fills the holes that I have inside of myself. Yeah. And I do that for her. So she's had tremendous healing because she's married to me. I've had tremendous healing because I'm married to her. And it's not been perfect. It's been freakishly difficult. But this is what makes the beauty. The beauty's in the ebbs and the flows of the life, the heights and the lows. And I don't want a flatline life. I don't think you do. I don't think anybody listening to this wants a flat. The flat line is the very definition of dead.
Yeah.
I don't want a marriage like that. Nope. I wouldn't sign up for that. So that's one thing about us, is everything is calibrated towards growth. It's not calibrated towards maintaining insane levels of ridiculous complacency and normalcy. We do everything we can to push, and not push each other per se, because I don't need to motivate her. It's not her job. I don't need to, she doesn't need to motivate me. In fact, if she tries to do that, I naturally push against that. I have my own motivations. Right. So we are separately together in our desire to grow and become the best versions of ourselves. And as parents, I mean, obviously you want your kids to do the same. But the whole deal here is that you have to allow humans to be human, and you need to allow those humans to make choices for themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing, but I don't want to dig too deep into it. But man, our story is like, we could literally make a film out of the serendipity that happened. It's scary how orchestrated this was. And you all probably feel that way in some way about experiences that you've had, because like two souls meeting and there being fireworks it's never a coincidence. When you're ready, when you've done the work, the things happen and they show up. And we wouldn't be a thing had we not done our work to make it possible. Had I met her just 2 months before I did, I wouldn't even have been interested. Like 0% chance that we would have ever made it. And it's the same with her for me. So like, this was literally orchestrated down to the minutes, where our worlds collided and we're like, okay, what are we going to do with this now? We see that this has happened. Clearly it's for a reason. Clearly there's divine providence here. So what are we going to do about it? And it's been a ride ever since, man. It's been incredible. She has 3 kids. One of them's in heaven. I have 3 kids and we got 1 on the way.
Wow.
So that makes 7.
Full house.
So her firstborn son is very much a part of our family, even though he's not here and I've never met him. Like, I feel like he's my kid. It's weird. But there's so much going on here that's so powerful on a soul deep level that I'm just super grateful that I did the work and I said yes to hard things, because what I have now is 10 times what I used to have. Money, love, connection, all the things that we care about in life. It's crazy.
And you guys met pretty quickly, right? I mean,
Super
like,
quick.
your divorce was happening, and then you within divorce getting finalized, you were married, what you said, 9 months?
Yeah. It was finalized October 4th, 2016. And I met Michelle in February, towards the end of February, almost March. It was February 26th. And I was full-time in my stuff from when I separated, which was months before it was finalized, right?
Yeah.
It was August-ish to end of February, beginning of March. I was full-time, 100% working on my shit. And had I not done that, Michelle doesn't happen for me.
Yeah.
No question about it. I missed that boat. So it did happen quick. I don't recommend that quick.
Yeah.
Like you can't forget we are human.
Yeah.
There is humanity here. And I was not ready to get married, man. I didn't want a relationship. I didn't even want to date. Like, I was good. Bachelor, I'm good. I love my kids. I'm a good daddy. And I loved it. I just loved the idea of I could work my face off half the time, ridiculous amount of work, and then take a break when my kids are here.
Yep.
I was high on that. Had an offer in on a perfect bachelor pad when I met Michelle. I lost my earnest money, by the way, because all my plans changed. but sometimes that's the way that happens. And we can talk about why I made the choice that I did, because it was fully conscious. And it wasn't because I couldn't control the emotions, that I needed someone, that I was so in love with somebody that I just was Twitter pated and she's stolen my heart. No, I was 100% fully conscious. Bro, she's a gift to you. What are you going to do about it?
I can concur with that. I totally understand that, because it's easy especially when you're freshly divorced or freshly separated, it's easy to just go, how can I go get infatuated by somebody else and get into some other relationship, versus like doing the work on you and going through it. And then when you're ready, it's almost like when you're ready, it presents itself, which is basically what happened.
100%. And that never happens unless you turn towards yourself and do your work.
Yeah.
What happens with second, third marriages usually don't go well, because the second marriage is it's a rebound.
Yep.
Because you're not used to not having somebody there anymore, or you want to get back at them and prove like what type of marriage you can have, that you still got game. And we do all this nonsense. It's not, man, that's not where your growth is. It's not. You got to go here first.
And you guys have a couple of unique things where there's like crossover between your ex-wife and your current wife, with different things you guys went through. Because a lot of guys, when they think about moving on, whatever, they either have a really myopic view of what that's going to look like, or they don't know what's possible. Tell me just a couple, like 3 of the things that you were telling me earlier that would probably blow some of your minds about how you responded, how your current wife responded, how your ex-wife responded. And really, I think a lot of it has to do with the leadership that you presented.
Yeah. So this is how crazy it got. I'll talk about exactly what made this possible a little bit later. But when we got married, July 14 of 2017, so that was 7/14/17 is a cool number. My former spouse was there. So my ex-wife was at our wedding. Her ex-husband was at our wedding with his girlfriend at the time, who they were married a couple months later.
So your current wife's ex-husband and your ex-wife were at your marriage,
They were at our wedding.
at your wedding.
We had a really small service, a beautiful service, but they were two of just 12 people that were there.
Wow. How did that happen?
Not just that, but they wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Now, y'all know that, I mean, divorce is not fun. Like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's the hardest thing I've ever been through. It's not even close. I've been through a lot of other hard things.
Same.
Nothing brought me to my knees like that. But it's how you go through your struggles that matters.
Mm.
And although I wouldn't, truth be told, I wouldn't prefer to have gone through that. If there was a way that, hey, Seth, you could keep your family, figure this stuff out, I probably would have taken that choice. But looking back now, it's like, my gosh, I never would have had what I had now. I wouldn't be the person that I am. There's no way that my family would be this strong. And this depth of joy and feeling in my life, I wouldn't have that because I wouldn't have the magnitudes. It's like the depths of our pain and sorrow is also the potential for your heights. Mm. And man, those are gifts if you choose to see them as that.
Yeah.
Which is
where did you guys live? You guys lived in somebody's basement when you first got married?
When Michelle and I first got married, we didn't really have a place locked down because I was living in southern Utah in a little resort town called St. George, and she was up north in Salt Lake, which is about 300 miles apart. And so every other week, I would be up here, and I'd be shacking up with my brother who was living close by. I don't really have my own place. I was back and forth between that place and a trailer park in St. George. True story. So
was this with the Tesla or after the Tesla?
This was the Tesla time, man. Like, you have to picture this as real life.
Yeah.
Like, you have to picture this.
I almost did the same.
I was watching my kids for 5-day weekends every other weekend because it's the best we could work out at the time. And so I had my Tesla, which was my dream car, $135,000 car. And I didn't have a place in St. George that was mine. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go buy a trailer. So I bought a trailer. I was upside down on it. I paid $45,000. They're only worth $39,000. Phone head. And so I locked this up. I locked up a spot in that trailer park, the RV park, for $550 a month. And that's where I watched my kids for almost a year. It's right there. And we had some good times in there, but boy, that was freaking hard, man. Man, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
When you're going through this transition period and money wasn't so hot at the time, like money was going well. And then divorce is the quickest way to train wreck yourself financially. My gosh, it turns everything on a dime, which is the scary part for sure, because there's massive uncertainty financially. And just drug myself through that. So 10 days I'd be up north and 4 or 5 days I'd be down south. And anyway, when we got married, we didn't have a place locked up. So the circumstance presents itself like, where are we going to have our kids? And what are we going to do for a month or so while we're locking down a place? Well, her ex-husband, his name's Joe. He's an amazing dude. We make a really, really good team. All of us do. He's like, I got you. You just stay in my basement. He has a basement apartment in his house. So picture this. Broke dude marries woman. Ex-husband says, don't worry, I got you. And you can park your $135,000 Tesla in my driveway.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I wasn't all the way broke, but man, finances were not going up at that point. I hadn't been working for a year almost.
Yeah.
Literally zero work. I completely disappeared from the marketplace. I didn't post on Facebook for I don't know how long. And because I was doing this work in here. Because that was the work, that was my full-time employment at the time. But we lived in the basement of my wife's ex-husband for a month. Actually, it might have been slightly less than a month. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but about that. Adventures, man. Adventures. You could put that in an ad on Facebook and people are like, dude, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Has to be something wrong with that dude.
So would you change anything about how the divorce actually went down?
Not from my side. There's two ways to look at this. In my opinion, this is a healthy way of looking at it. At least this is how I saved myself from going down dark holes and never coming out.
Yeah.
There's two sides. And if y'all are at this transition, looking at it or just coming through it, you need to hear this clearly. So get some pen and paper out and write this down. So if you're driving, you should probably pull over and write this down or make a voice note or something, because this is freaking life-changing. This is what changed my life and allowed me to come out of this with an asset as a family. And that asset is we're a really good team. We work well together. So this is how I looked at everything. Before divorce, I had certain mannerisms, behaviors, capacities. What I did not have is the awareness of the things that I needed to change in order for there to be a healthy environment for her. So naturally, she wants to go find a healthy environment somewhere else. Meanwhile, delusional Seth was thinking that I was the man, provide all the money, provide all the protection for her, but I wasn't fundamentally meeting her needs. And I was completely unaware of this until it was too late because she gone. She didn't want it anymore. So here's the deal. I can't beat myself up for something I was completely unaware of because I couldn't have made different choices at the time. There's nothing I could do to go back and say, man, and just beat myself up that I made certain choices or whatever. Completely useless train of thought. There's nothing I can do to change it. So I have to give myself grace for that. Because I couldn't have done that differently. I could say, I wish I had this and this, or wish I would have done this differently, for sure. But in actuality, there's nothing I could have done different. I'm a good dude. You know my heart. Always been where I believe is a strong, healthy, bright, shining place. Always want the best things for people. I always try and uplift. I try to be a good person. I've always tried to grow. Never done a thing wrong in my marriage that I look back and I'm shamed about. Like this was not some dude is just out of his lane, completely destroying the marriage. There was nothing consciously I was doing to harm her in any way. I wouldn't do that anyways, because I'm a protector at heart. And I was just completely freaking missing it. 100% unaware and delusional. And that's what cost me. Part of this is I worked my face off and I wasn't present with her. So she was missing deep connection with me. So to her, it just felt like roommates. To me, it was totally fine and normal. That's a problem.
Yeah. We hear that all the time.
I was not aware. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm a type A person. I'm pretty confident, strong. And she saw herself as somebody that could not stand up to me, or at least it was really difficult. She thought it would require her to stand up to me.
Aren't you also like 6'10"?
I am 6'10". You can't probably tell. Definitely not by audio. Those of y'all watching this probably can't tell either.
I couldn't stand up to you.
Yeah, you can't, dude. I met you in person, man.
I know. Remember?
I know what this looks like.
Yeah.
It's all good because your heart's big, brother. Like a big teddy bear.
Thanks. Hey, this is Mark Santiago, CEO and founder of Empowered Man. I want to thank you for listening to today's podcast. However, before you go, I want to give you a special invitation. Now listen, we've got a program that is designed specifically for men who are hurting right now, who are on the verge potentially of divorce, who are facing potential separation or already separated, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They're dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with cheating. They're dealing with all kinds of shit. If that's you, I want to challenge you to take the Empowered Man 30-Day Challenge. That's right, the Empowered Man 30-Day Challenge. You can go to emchallenge.com right now and sign up for the 30-Day Challenge. Here's why I think you should do that. If you're hurting, you need to understand why you're hurting. You need to understand what is actually going on. In week 1 of the challenge, we are going to actually rip off that Band-Aid a little bit and coach you through that process. And then we continue to do that process all the way to the point where you start to make decisions that are empowered instead of disempowered. I don't know about you, but I would much, much, much rather make decisions from a place of strength than a place of weakness. So if you're facing decisions, if you're facing this anxiety, what do I do? How do I respond? When my wife is being toxic, I don't know what to do. My wife is cheating on me. I don't know what to do. My wife doesn't love me. I don't know what to do. We are going to help you find those answers within. Now, look, this 30-day challenge is probably unlike any other you've been a part of. Why? Because not only do we have daily assignments happening in the program every single day, but you also get live group coaching calls. I said live group coaching calls with myself and my lead coach. That's right. I am a part of this. It's not just some other people doing it. I am there live with you every single week call that we are on. Third part of that is you're going to have a community of other guys that are going through exactly what you are going through. And the best part of this isn't even a fraction of the price we could charge for it. In fact, at some point we may raise the price, but right now it is at a bargain. So go to emchallenge.com, emchallenge.com to take the Empowered Man 30-day challenge, and I will see you on the inside.